It took 48 years for us to overturn Roe versus Wade. I'm a Christian, right? So I was in that battle. And then, now that we get it done, the Republicans are running from it. They're hiding from it. I mean, why don't we own it? I mean, that's what we wanted. Why don't we own it? How are you going to address this?
Well, I think this is actually a way I can take both the first and the second part of your question, because, I think it is important to stand for a culture of life. I'm the only one running that has actually enacted protections for the sanctity of life. I'm the only one that's been able to do that.
Hold on, honey.
No oil money! No oil money! No oil money!
You live and you learn with these people, right?
No oil money!
All right.
No oil money!
All right. Well, you guys, that was a mistake. You guys didn't get that one right. Okay. So I do think it's important to, I think it's important that we do that. And I'm the only one running that's actually enacted protections for the sanctity of life. Iowa has done, of course, with heartbeat legislation. And you're right, when Dobbs came down, most people were like, okay, well, now states have the ability to protect life. And different states obviously are going to approach it differently. But, the former president, Trump, who said he was pro-life, he attacked pro-life legislation like the heartbeat bill here in Iowa and said it was a terrible, terrible thing. Now, that was not what he said when he was president, because he spoke at the March for Life in January of 2020. If you watch that speech, he said that life is a gift from God. He said the unborn was made in the image of God. He said that there need to be protections to welcome people into the world. And yet, now, he's saying it's a terrible, terrible thing. So I don't know how you can flip from saying what he said in the March for Life to now saying what he's saying here about things that have been done in Iowa and South Carolina and places like Florida. So, we're proud of being able to do, but I will say this, and I think part of the Republicans have not done a good job of, okay, it's not easy raising kids in this day and age. It's expensive. What are you going to do? Are you doing stuff to help with postpartum medical care? Are you helping with raising kids like we did by eliminating tax on all the baby items? Are you helping with adoption? Are you helping with foster parents? We've done all of that in Florida. Are you helping kids get an education? We have universal school choice in Florida. So the poorest parent has the ability to send her child to the school of that parent's choice. So this is a really holistic thing. I think I've done it right in Florida, but I think Donald Trump attacking pro-lifers the way he has, that is now going to be weaponized by the political left to use against Republicans and to use against pro-lifers, and that's wrong.
So, Governor, thank you, Chris, for your question. I want to play what we asked Governor Haley about this last night. Here's what she had to say on the abortion issue. Watch.
The fellas just don't know how to talk about it. Instead of demonizing this issue, you have to humanize this issue. We need to talk about it in a way that's saving babies and supporting moms. And whatever 60 senators bring to me, at whatever level, we will support. Because the only way we're going to do it is if we find consensus on the federal level.
What do you say to that, sir?
Well, I mean, I think that with all due respect to her, I've been in debates and I've heard her talk about things. And, I think she's indulged into some of these left-wing tropes. I mean, for example, she has chastised pro-lifers saying, you shouldn't be talking about putting women in prison. Nobody's talking about that. I've not met a single pro-lifer that has ever talked about that. That is a trope that the left and the media will use, and yet she's indulged that. She's indulged some of these other tropes. And so I think we've approached this, at least I've always tried, and I think most people I know on the pro-life side, you got to approach this from a position of compassion. These are difficult situations that people find themselves in. And I think most women who end up doing an abortion, they feel like they don't have support. They feel like, obviously, these fathers are nowhere to be found in this day and age a lot of time. That's disgraceful how some of these men behave. But then you worry about economics. You worry about all these things. And then there's a lot of people that do push them in that direction.
But I got to ask you, Governor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but, you signed a 6-week ban in Florida. And some people out there would say that's not compassionate towards some women in some cases. What do you say to that?
Well, look, you have to look to see our country's based on the idea our rights come from God. And among these are the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that right to life is paramount. It's in the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
So the question is, if you have an unborn with a detectable heartbeat, I think it's compassionate to be able to respect that and to be able to protect that going forward. And you do that in ways that are compassionate with everybody in understanding the issues that you're dealing with. But I'll tell you what, in Florida, we've put our money where our mouth is on this. My wife has led a program. Okay.
Down on the
Thank you
time
so
here.
much.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Governor.
everybody.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.